walking bass. Sounds great, feels great, a huge component of jazz. But did you ever realize how much walking bass shows up in all kinds of other music too? Some of this might surprise you. Check this out. Hi, I'm John Liebman, and I help people over 50, and in a lot of cases, people even older than over 50, who want to play bass and finally have some fun with it. People who love that classic rock and blues songs from the 60s and 70s. Welcome to The Essence of Groove, right here at ForBassPlayersOnly.com. All right, walking bass. We know it's a huge part of the jazz sound, the jazz vibe, the jazz feel. But there are a lot of other kinds of music where walking bass shows up. It shows up in blues, it shows up in rock, it shows up in pop music, even country music. I'm going to play a few examples and then we're going to break this down so you can start playing walking bass lines on your own. Let's start with jazz, the most familiar. Let's play just your basic 2-5-1 progression in a jazz feel, and we'll add a 6th chord as well. So. You know, in jazz, it's not uncommon to hear or to throw in a lot of triplet runs or ba-da-da-dows and some other things that are kind of inherent to jazz. So let's do that again, and I'll throw some of those in so you know what I'm talking about. All right, you get the idea. Now, in blues, okay, a lot of this, probably the most amount of similarity between jazz and blues than in the other forms. But in each genre or subgenre, whatever you want to call it, has its own personality, its own feel, its own flavor. So blues, yeah, it's still in that swing feel, that triplet subdivision, the shuffle feel, and it's like... So you see the similarities and you note the subtle differences. Jazz, blues. I don't know why we have to label music, but I don't know, we do. How about rock? Can you think of any rock songs that use a walking bass line? Ever hear the Beatles? How about this? Close your eyes and I'll kiss you tomorrow. Sound like a walking bass line to you? Does to me. I don't know exactly what he played, but that was the gist of it. That was the song. Let's stick with the Beatles for another one. How about... Ooh, I need your love, baby. walking bass. It's the Beatles. One more Beatles. Remember this? Tell me why. Early Beatles. Let's move on to something else. How about a minor walking blues, a minor walking bass line? Van Morrison, Moondance. You know that song. Well, it's a marvelous night for a moondance. Okay, that last part wasn't walking bass, but I just kept playing it because I was playing it. So that is an example of a walking bass with a minor, in a minor key. By the way, I really like that song, Moondance, and I like the arrangement. I like all that stuff. Van Morrison, you know, Brown Eyed Girl and Tupelo Honey. I hate the performance on the record. I admire him for wanting to do something a little different, something with swing, something with jazz, with a jazz feel, but I always felt like if that's what he wanted, I wished he would have gotten people who sounded more like they were used to playing jazz. The drums are over here, the bass is over here, it stutters, it starts, it stops. I don't know if you ever noticed that, but I hope I didn't ruin the song for you, but it's always bugged me and I just had to get that out. How about some country music? Or actually Skynyrd. Okay, it's probably not really most accurate to call Skynyrd country. It's more like southern rock. But they had a song called I Know a Little. Now you may not recognize it from the title, but you're probably familiar with the song. Leon Wilkeson on the bass. Oh, he was awesome. I went, I know a little. Anyway, I hope you can tell from the bass line. Even if you can't, the point I'm making is walking bass, not just for jazz. It's in rock, it's in pop, it's major, it's minor, it's southern rock. Here is some, I'll do one more example. Country music. Dwight Yoakam had a song called Guitars, Cadillacs, and he sings about hillbilly music. How did that go? Guitars and Cadillacs, hillbilly music. I think he might have done it a little slower, but anyway, you know, I've never been a huge country music fanatic, but I like a lot of it. Some of it's fun. This song is fun. I used to go down to the NAMM show, the summer NAMM show in Nashville. A bunch of times. I used to take my son with me, and a couple of times my wife and my daughter came down and joined us, and we did Nashville. We did the Country Music Hall of Fame. We went to the Grand Ole Opry. We went to Elvis's studio. I sampled a different kind of bourbon every night, but That's a different story for a different video. Anyway, not country music, walking bass. So how do you lay down a walking bass line? Well, think of it this way. There are two things you need to keep in mind. One, you want to outline the harmony. In other words, the listener should be able to detect what chords are going by, what chord changes. And the other thing you want to do is get that flow when you're going from one chord to the next. You don't want to just do, okay, this is what I'm going to do for this chord, this one I'm going to do for this chord. No, they've all got to be connected. There's got to be a flow. So how do you choose your notes? How do you get started? Why don't you start with outlining the chords and play the arpeggio? You could just keep it real simple. There's a lot of more linear stuff you can do later on, but this is a great way to get started. So if a song is in 4/4, a walking bass line generally plays one note per beat. So there are 4 notes per bar. Now as a bass player, it's generally a pretty good idea to start by playing the root of the chord each time a new chord is introduced. So if it's an A chord, for example, or an A7 or an A whatever, start by playing an A. Guess what? You're 25% done already. If it's a major chord, outline the chord, play the major third. In this case, an A or A7, whatever kind of A chord we're playing, if it's a major chord, play the third, which in an A chord is the C sharp. So we've got, and then you might as well just round it out, play the 5th of the chord. So you've got an A triad. Now those are the first 3 notes. The 4th note has a special kind of importance because of what I was saying before. You want it to flow smoothly when the chord changes from one to another. Your bass lines have to be in accordance with that. So the 4th note should be something that is going to logically and sonically pleasingly go from one chord to another. We can pretty much limit, just for this exercise, we could limit our note choice to the 3 notes in a major triad, or if we're playing minor, in a minor triad. So in our A chord, let's say we're playing a blues. So the next chord is going to be D. So we've got our 3 notes in our A bar. We can play, since we're only playing 3 notes, we can pretty much make a good case of playing whatever note, whichever of the 2 notes we're not playing. There are 3 notes, A, C sharp, and E. We're playing an E, so we're probably in pretty good shape playing either an A, which is the root, so going from root to root is fine. Or we can play the other note that we're not playing, which is the C sharp. And that can work very well because the C sharp is only 1 fret away, a half step away from the D. So that can give it a little extra push toward the D, which is fine. Sometimes the other is more preferable. It depends on the situation. This is where your musical creativity comes into play. But in the meantime, just try. And we'll do the same thing with the D. Now, for the 5 chord, the E, notice first of all the shapes that I played. The way that my fingers move, the configuration was identical for the A and for the D. The A, okay, we started with our 2nd finger on the 5th fret of the E string. Next note was on the 4th fret of the A string. Then we went up 3 frets on that same A string. Same thing on the D string, except we started on the D string. So 5th fret here on the D string, 2nd finger. 4th fret on the, this is the A string. 5th fret on the A string with our 2nd finger. first finger on the 4th fret of the D string, and then up 3 frets like we did. So that's what I'm often referring to as the awesome consistency of the bass, because it's tuned in perfect fourths all the way up and down. It's not like a guitar where you have perfect fourth, perfect fourth, perfect fourth, whoa, major third, okay, and then perfect fourth. We don't do any of that nonsense. We are all perfect fourths all the way up and down. Same shape. Now we can maintain that exact shape, identical, if we move up here 2 frets to the E on the A string, 2nd finger. But you may have noticed I didn't do it that way, and there's a reason. And the only reason is so I wouldn't have to shift up 2 frets and then back down 2 frets again. There's another shape that is very handy, very practical for you to know, and it's the same notes. We're playing the same, but instead of playing the B up here on the E chord, we're going to play it here on the 4th fret of the G string. So we start with our pinky. And that's your choice. I recommend you learn how to do it both ways, because it's good to be able, it's important to be able to shift. And like I said a minute ago, it's also very handy and very practical to be able to play a 3-note chord across 3 strings on the bass. So learn that shape as well. Okay, notice what I did right there. So far we're playing just triads, 3-note chords. Which, like I also said, is a great place to start. There's also something to be said for playing the in-between notes called passing tones. So suppose we're going from the 5 chord E down to the D and to the A, and we're rounding out our blues. So from the A to the E. And that works. The only thing we did, we added this note here, the D sharp, which isn't part of the chord, but it sounds good, it works, it fits because it flows. We're going from a D to an E, so we just played the note in between. And then we kind of just play a chromatic scale type of pattern. So it's the same kind of thing. We're playing the G, we're playing the G sharp, and then we're working our way back to the A on the downbeat. So let me show you that again. So try it. Try playing just a 3-note chord. It will get you started with your walking bass. Try it with a blues. Try it with any song. And let me know how you make out, and experiment with those choices that you have. Remember, I said whichever note you're playing, you have 2 more choices. Play one of the other 2 that you're not playing. See what you like. Learn the patterns. Learn the sounds. Get used to hearing those things in your ear. Practice switching from one chord to the next. Work on one shape, shifting, one shape, 2 shapes, all the stuff that we talked about here. Watch this video again as many times as you need to, as many times as it takes in order for it to sink in. Give this stuff a try and leave a comment below. Let me know your takeaways. I want to know that I'm getting through to you. There's some more advanced stuff. We didn't really talk too much about the 7th, and there's some other things you can do and other kind of linear lines that are more advanced. I can do those in another video, but let me know your takeaway and let me know what else you'd like to learn. That's what I'm here for. I teach bass. So I will see you right back here again next week. We'll have another lesson of the essence of groove right here at forBassPlayersOnly.com. If you're not already subscribed to this channel, take care of that right now. You don't want to miss anything. Like I said, I do this every week. There's a wealth of information. If you want to learn bass, if you want to play bass, I'd be happy to help you. I'd be honored to help you. And with that, I will see you right back here, same time, same place next week, with another edition of The Essence of Groove here at ForBassPlayersOnly.com. In the meantime, I'm John Liebman. Let's play bass.